Hi from Jenn and Kanata. Today we are doing an egg collab recipe, and one of the favorite recipes that my family likes to have with eggs is curry chicken with hard-boiled eggs in it. It's a great way to stretch your chicken by adding potatoes and eggs. It doubles the protein value in there, and the hard-boiled eggs absorbs the curry flavor. I'm going to show you what I do, and I'll put a link to a recipe below of a recipe that I use and I add more things to. Okay, first thing we're going to do, we're going to hard boil some eggs. I suggest that you do at least 1 egg per person. I like to do at least 2 eggs per person for people to have seconds. And I will boil and peel and boil potatoes with the eggs so that they're cooked as well. Because once that is done, everything is really quick. So to start, I take potatoes and I peel them and dice them, and I put them in water with salt so they don't turn brown, so they stay nice and white. And then I pour all this into a pot with some water. And then I have the stove on high and put in here at least 1 or 2 eggs per person. I am going to boil, I think, a dozen eggs because my family really likes eggs in here. There's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I will add more salt. Just reaching for the salt. To cook the eggs. And then just let this boil until the potatoes are done and the eggs are done. Then I will take the eggs and put them into cold water to easily peel them. Eggs and potatoes are cooking. I have my chicken I took out this morning, still partially frozen. I find it's easier to cut when it's still partially frozen. So these are the chicken thighs that I froze April 5th, grocery haul. And there's about, I think, 10 in here. Now I'm going to take out and start dicing them into small pieces. Still frozen here, but I'm just slicing a chunk. We like small, bite-sized pieces. And I'll continue to defrost when it cooks. If this had been frozen flat, it would have been easier to cut into more even pieces, but this way works too. And another tip is, if you have a bad back or sore feet or whatever, do this on your dining room table. So you could sit down and cut and prep. So you're not always standing at the counter, which is not always at the best height for everybody. This way it saves your back. And always make sure that you use a nice sharp serrated knife for, well, I like a serrated knife, for cutting the meat. It cuts better and faster. There we go. I always make sure I have about equal amounts of potatoes and chicken, or more potatoes than chicken. That way it stretches the chicken. So I separated the eggs, I put them in cold water, and I'm going to change the water as it warms up. And I put the potatoes, as you see they're still steaming, in another bowl, as I will cook up the meat and add the potatoes and that afterwards, once the eggs are so I'm going to show you peeling the eggs. I just bang the egg and the shell just slides off. Because I put the eggs in cold water and shocked them, so the shell just pops right off. Look at how beautiful that is. And look at those beautifully peeled, diced, and chopped and washed some cauliflower to go in the curry. The original recipe, I'll put a link down below. It's from Sandy Richard, Cooking for the Rushed. It calls for broccoli, which I find is kind of odd in curry, so I use cauliflower instead. It also calls serving it on linguine, which you can do, but I prefer to do it on rice. So I'm just going to be cooking some rice to serve this on. I will put the link down below to the actual recipe of what it calls for and the measurements, and I will show you what I boiled the potatoes and the eggs. I'm going in, which is just clarified butter, in the pan. It adds a little something different. This will melt, and then we will put the chicken in there. The chicken in there. Also, I diced 2 small onions. The recipe calls for 1, but I think I have more chicken, and we like onions. So I get that in there with the chicken to start to saute. Covered in the ghee. You can use butter mixed with oil, because ghee has a bit of a higher burn content, or just use oil. Olive oil, vegetable oil, canola oil, whatever. You know, you can use the coconut oil too. The important thing is the curry powder. So it said to put like 4 teaspoons or whatever. I just eyeball it. you just do that with the mushroom soup. But I like to add a few other Indian spices to round out the flavor. But I really like using cardamom, coriander, and cumin to add a bit more flavor to the curry. I find with the cardamom, it has like a almost sweet, nutmeggy note to it that really rounds out the flavor. And the coriander, because curry spice is just a mixture of these spices with turmeric, which makes it more yellow. So I just like adding more. And I brown it to all brown. Also browning the spices with the ghee really helps bring out the flavors as well. For garlic, I'm using some already pre-chopped garlic paste. And we like garlic, so you add little or as much as you want. Oh, I wish you guys had smell vision. The smell is wonderful. I'd like to eat it, but the chicken's not cooked yet. And then the recipe calls for adding a can of mushroom soup, or that was some ghee on there, and half of the can of water. But since I'm doing this and we like it creamy, I am doing 2 cans of soup and 1 can, not of water, of milk, sorry. You could use water too, but the milk, really, so I'm using my milk. We have bags of milk here in Canada. I'm using a whole can of milk. You can add more or less of milk, or add some water if you like it a little bit thinner. Let me just get this going. To cook up some of the meat. I'm going to add the cauliflower because it's not cooked already. I like to pre-cook the potatoes because sometimes they don't always get fully cooked in this. So that's why I do the cauliflower at this point. I'm going to cook this with the lid on partially for at least about 10 minutes on medium, and I'll come back and check on it and stir it. Make sure you stir this. The chicken's all cooked and the cauliflower is al dente. So now is the time to add the hard-boiled eggs and potatoes in.